Hello book lovers, my name is Carrie and this is Spines and Spoilers. Today I want to talk about all of the books that I read in the year 2024. First, I usually start off talking about what I am reading and what I am drinking. I'm actually not drinking anything right now, believe it or not. I already had my coffee for the day. I'm getting started a little later than I would have liked because I slept in. But I am reading How to Solve Your Own Murder by Kristen Perrin. My reading goal for 2024 was to read 75 books. Just by pure happenstance, I read exactly 75 books. Will I read more in the next couple of weeks before the year ends? Probably not, because the holiday is coming and I have so much planned. I can't even, my friends have been trying to organize a game night for the last 3 weeks and I haven't been able to do anything because I've already been so busy. And I'm not going to be able to do anything for another 3, 4, 5 weeks possibly. Today is probably the last day that I will have to record anything, so I'm going to try and make it count. That being said, here are the books that I read in 2024. The first book that I read, starting the year off on a kind of weak note, was The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. This book would have been fine enough on its own. It had a strong premise, not enough follow-through, I think. It was very repetitive. But there was a lot of fatphobia and it was pretty bad. So that marked it down a lot and I gave it 2 stars. The second book that I read was The It Girl by Ruth Ware. This was the first Ruth Ware book that I read in general and it sort of set the expectation. I read so many Ruth Ware books this year. I don't know why. I guess it was just because, hey, this is a new author. She has a lot of books. I'm going to try and read them all. And read them all I did, to varying degrees of enjoyment, but I did read them all. This one was probably my favorite and kind of set the tone and expectation for all the rest of them. I think I ended up giving it about 4 stars. The third book that I read was 9 Perfect Strangers by Liane Moriarty. I saw this book everywhere. I wasn't sure if I would like it. I didn't really know much of anything about it going in, but I did end up enjoying it. The fourth book that I read was The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I have read some of this author's books before, tend to enjoy them. I had a lot of expectations going into this one because you see it absolutely everywhere, and it was pretty good. I'm not going to say that it is the best thing that I've ever read or anything like that, but it was pretty good, and I think it also fell into that 3.5/4-star range. That is unfortunately where a lot of books fell this year. This isn't my favorite, but it's really good. I enjoyed it. This one was pretty good. I'm not gonna say that it's not quite fine, but it's good. Probably closer to a 3.5. I remember being disappointed with some of the elements. With number 5, we're getting back into Ruth Ware, is 0 Days. I thought this one was fun, but kind of predictable, and this was early on in the year where I hadn't been reading a lot of thrillers back to back to back to back back. And it was only the second Ruth Ware book that I had read. So I don't know if that bodes particularly well. It was a fine book. I'm going to stop with the star ratings because it's just too complicated to sit here and rate it in real time. And I'm so bad with the rating system. It was good enough. Number 6 was another Ruth Ware book. It was The Woman in Cabin 10. This one did disappoint me a lot because it had a lot of hype. This was one of the big Ruth Ware books, apparently. And I went in with big expectations. And yeah, there's a sort of twist, but I don't like where they went with it. I mean, they kind of got me off guard, but I don't like what they did with it, I guess, what she did with it. It was still a pretty good book. Not terrible. It's not bad. It's fine. Sorry, I'm talking really fast. I should stop doing that and try to talk more like an audiobook reader. The ones that I have to speed up to 2 times speed. Number 7 was Veronica Ruiz Breaks the Bank by El Cosmano. It was a novella based on the backstory of Veronica Ruiz. I did think it was an interesting insight into what made that character into who she is today and how she met Finlay Donovan. If you are among the demographic of people that Finlay Donovan appeals to, then you will probably enjoy this little novella. Number 8 gets us back into Ruth Ware for the next 3 numbers. This one was The Turn of the Key. I think this was my second favorite of her books. It kind of pays homage to The Turn of the Screw. And yeah, I kind of liked the ending. I liked the main character for the most part. There was some unnecessary filler, and I'm not going to say it's perfect, but I did end up enjoying it. Number 9 was The Death of Mrs. Westaway, also by Ruth Ware. This one was also kind of a pleasant surprise. It wasn't quite as good as The Turn of the Key or The It Girl, but it was one of her better books. Number 10 was One by One, also by Ruth Ware, and was not one of her stronger books. It's not the one that I liked the least, but I didn't really like the ending. I thought it was predictable, especially after reading the Woman in Cabin 10. I feel like she does this thing with her characters where she takes this one-a-week character and is like, you'll never suspect this one. I'm just gonna hide them away and you're gonna forget that they exist. And they're like, ah, that one's actually the killer. I feel like that was subversive maybe like 20, 30 years ago. But in this day and age, it's kind of obvious. Number 11 is The Mustache by Manuel Carrier. This was about a 4-star, 4.5 if I'm gonna assign stars, because it was effective. It's very unnerving, especially the ending, which I'm not gonna give away, but I literally trained to be a funeral director. It is not easy to make me feel uneasy, but this one did it. Number 12 was by one of my favorite authors, T. Kingfisher. It's What Feasts at Night. It was a semi-sequel to What Moves the Dead, but I feel like it had an entirely different mood. I still really loved this book, but I think that it would have fared better as like a stand-alone with different main character, perhaps. Because, I don't know, it just had a completely different feel in some parts. Number 13 and 14 are also Ruth Ware books. I think there's only one after these two that is Ruth Ware. Perhaps, don't hold me to that. Number 13 is The Lion Game. Not a big fan. I didn't like a lot of the stuff. I don't know why I kept on reading her stuff after the last book that I read, because I obviously didn't like it. She's very hit or miss, and so far she's had more misses than hits for me. I don't think I've given any of her books anything lower than maybe a 2.5 or a 3. But still, by this point, I should have been like, maybe this is lukewarm and I shouldn't keep pursuing this author. But I did. And yeah, it was fine. Number 14 was In a Dark, Dark Wood by Ruth Ware. This one I honestly didn't like very much. This one I think was like the 2.5. Really, it had such high expectations. It's another one that you see absolutely everywhere. And maybe that's the flaw, going in with high expectations. Maybe it was the fact that I had read too many of her books by this point. But I really wasn't a fan. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't good. Number 15 is Not a Happy Family by Shari Lapina. I am still figuring out whether I like this author or not. This book was another one where it was just kind of fine. It was a murder mystery, and it's just like a family murder mystery, sort of. Yeah, it was fine, bordering on good. Not one that I would recommend, but not one that I would actively deter anyone from reading. Number 16 is Just the Nicest Couple by Mary Kubica. I thought that this book had some fun moments because it is about a married couple that is trying to cover up what they think is a murder that one of them committed. Which I think that's fun, and she did some fun stuff with it. I'm not positive about the ending, honestly. I'm still figuring out how I feel about it, and I read it at the beginning of the year. Number 17 is one that I had wanted to read for a while. It is The London Seance Society by Sarah Pinner. Gay, ghosts, dark academia. Did enjoy. It was kind of slow and dry, in some places maybe too many, I don't know, but I still thought it was good. Number 18 was Finley Donovan Rolls the Dice by El Cosimano. I thought this was fun. I thought it was everything that one expects when you get into a Finley Donovan book. If you've read them before, if you enjoy them, you know what I mean. If you don't like them, stay away. It's just fun, dumb. It's like deliberately fun and dumb, and I don't know. I just enjoyed it. I don't know. I guess I just like a good incompetent main character every once in a while, especially when you're not really supposed to take them seriously. Number 19 is The Fury by Alex Michaelides. This one had an unlikable narrator, which I also like from time to time depending on how it's done. Wuthering Heights is a great example. Hated that narrator, but it is one of my favorite books, so do with that what you will. The Fury was another murder mystery, and I did enjoy it, but I feel like he could have done more. He could have done more with the material that he had, but I did enjoy it. Number 20 is Everyone Here is Lying by Charla Pina, and also the book that is kind of the reason that I say I'm not sure if I like her or not. This is another one where it was fine. I honestly don't remember much of anything about it, so that should tell you something. It kind of just went in one ear, out the other, and it wasn't offensive. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. Number 21 switched things up a little bit. It was called Before the Wand by Tom Felton. It's an autobiography. Now, I was obsessed with this series, which cannot be named, for about 20 years. I still like the series, hate the turf in chief, cannot stand her, will not promote her material. Tom Felton spoke out against her, however, so I don't feel any guilt about, consuming his work necessarily. I thought this was really enjoyable, especially if you think Tom Felton is an interesting person and worth, looking into his backstory of sorts. Number 22 is When the Lights Go Out by Mary Kubica. I believe that I actually do enjoy this author. She's not one of my favorites, but I do enjoy her stuff. This one was interesting commentary. It did go on a bit too long and got a little bit repetitive at one point. But she's a good, unreliable narrator, and I love that. Number 23 was She Started It by Shan Gilbert. This one was very cathartic. It's one of those books where it's like the people get what they deserve, essentially. Like, it's a little harsh in a couple of cases, but for the most part, people definitely get what they deserve. Number 24 was Good Bad Girl by Alice Feeney. I believe this was the first Alice Feeney book that I read. It was reasonably good, a little bit contrived in some places, but I never 100% knew where it was going. I was pretty sure that I knew, but not 100%. And yeah, I enjoyed it. It's another one of those where it's like, I'm not going to go out of my way to recommend it, but if you do like this author, I will probably bring it up, or if you do like this kind of genre, I'll more than likely bring it up. Not great, not terrible, just kind of good. Number 25 is If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio, which automatically took up a special place in my brain and in my heart because it's about theater kids, and I was a theater kid. So I'm automatically invested. It was another one of those, it reminded me of The Turn of the Key as far as the ending goes. I'm not going to give it away, but I liked where it went for the most part. Number 26 was another autobiography, and it was a rough one. It was Only Say Nice Things by Crystal Hefner. If you still carry some kind of love for Hugh Hefner, read this book. Read this book. If you take 2 seconds to reflect on the man, like without even reading the book, fuck Hugh Hefner, but also read the book, and yeah, it's not good. Book is good. The book is amazing. And I hate what she had to go through, but yeah, no, fuck him. 27 is also an autobiography. It's Page Boy by Elliot Page. I adore Elliot Page, and enjoyed reading what he had to say about his life and kind of his backstory and what led him into being the man that he is today. Number 28 is one of my absolute favorites for the year. It's Never Whistle at Night. It was written by various Indigenous authors. I think that I loved every single one of these stories, just hit after hit after hit. If you enjoy horror, please check it out. Each story has a very unique vibe and a unique voice. Totally recommend it, 100%. Maybe do look up trigger warnings ahead of time though. Number 29 is Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. This is one of those books where I was both able and not able to guess what was going on. I guess some elements and not others, and I ended up enjoying the twist. It's also another one of those books where the people get what they deserve. Number 30 is Only If You're Lucky by Stacey Willingham. It had It Girl feel, so if you enjoyed the It Girl, you will probably enjoy this one. I actually think it's better written in some ways. I don't think that I enjoyed it quite as much as the It Girl, but I did like it. Number 31 is another autobiography. It's Talking as Fast as I Can by Lauren Graham. This is another one where it was kind of a guilty pleasure read. Gilmore Girls have a special place in my heart. I can't even explain why I love it so much because it doesn't fit my personality, I guess. I don't know how to explain that, but I don't feel like it fits my personality in some ways, but I do love it, and Lauren Graham automatically had my attention for that reason. It was interesting. Check it out if you like Gilmore Girls, Lauren Graham, any of that stuff. It's predictably quirky, I would say. Number 32 is another favorite. It's Will My Cat Eat My Eyeballs by Caitlin Doughty. I absolutely adore Caitlin Doughty. It is non-fiction where she answers questions written in by children about death. Extremely interesting read. Lots of fun. Let me clarify. It's very interesting and lots of fun if you are into that kind of vibe. I guess if you like deathy books, macabre books, and stuff like that, it's interesting. Number 33 was actually a fantasy novella called When Among Crows by Veronica Roth. Veronica Roth wrote the Divergent series, which was... I liked the first one. It was very derivative, but there was also a lot to love about it. I think it gets a lot of hate for no reason, but also is a little... People who love it really love it. A bit too much, in my opinion, and then the people who hate it just absolutely hate it, usually for the wrong reason. That being said, I was really interested to see what Veronica Roth would do with a fantasy novella, and I ended up really enjoying it. I would especially recommend it to people who like dark mythology and folklore. Number 34 is Diabola by Jennifer Thorne. This was another one of my favorites, I think. I really liked the main character and how she handled the situation. It is a supernatural horror, and she very much gave vibes of, I'm not stuck in here with you, you're stuck in here with me. Number 35 is Murder Road by Simone St. James. I like a lot of Simone St. James books. Actually, I love a lot of her books. I haven't read all of them. I've loved a lot of the supernatural murder mystery type books. But yeah, this one wasn't really an exception to that. I didn't like it quite as much as the other books by her that I've read, but I still did enjoy it. I thought that it went on a little too long at times. It was a little contrived in some instances, but overall I liked it. We're actually kind of getting into some of the strongest books that I read for the year. 36 is Bury Your Gaze by Chuck Tingle. Chuck Tingle is making a foray into queer horror, and I am here for it. I think this one was a 5-star. In retrospect, I'm pretty sure it was a 5-star. Didn't get a lot of those this year. This is maybe one of 2 or 3. Number 37 is In Charm's Way by Lena Harper. It was part of the Witches of Thistle Grove series, which I have mentioned before. It is kind of... It's romantic-y-ish. It's got romance, but it's also fantasy and supernatural. Super interesting. Do advise. If you like whimsy, but you also like magic that has consequences, and you like gay, check it out. Check out the whole series, actually. Number 38 is The Hunting Moon by Susan Dennard. It is the sequel to The Lumineers. I would describe it as maybe supernatural, YA, fantasy. I don't even know where it would fall necessarily. It's got a mystery in there too. I actually enjoyed this one much more than the first book, though. 39 is Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. Part of the Tales from the Cafe series, if you've read that. It's another 4.5 stars, probably 4.5. Really enjoyed it. I would put it in the genre of like casual, cozy fantasy, sort of. There are a lot of emotional themes. I enjoy this little series, but I can understand why some people wouldn't, I guess. Number 40 is Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. Controversial opinion, I actually did enjoy this one. In retrospect, I think I enjoyed it a lot more than a lot of Riley Sager's stuff. It didn't have the strongest ending, but it's definitely one of his more enjoyable works, in my opinion. Number 41 is another 5-star. It's Let Us Descend by Jesmyn Ward. Let Us Descend by Jesmyn Ward is beautifully written. It has absolutely gorgeous prose. It's heart-wrenching, has really dark subject matter. It is not for the faint of heart or for anyone who's looking to just read something light and fun or cozy. Definitely not those vibes. It is dark, but it is gorgeous. Number 42 is Bright Young Women by Jessica Knoll. I thought that this was a really interesting reflection on how we treat serial killers, particularly in our modern world where they're kind of seen as icons. It's not good. It's not good, Patrick. We shouldn't be doing that. Number 43 is One Perfect Couple by Ruth Ware. This is another one that actually got a lot of shit for some reason, and I disagree. It's up there with the It Girl for me, if not higher. I liked the deception. I liked the unreliable narrator to some extent. I don't know. It ticked off a lot of boxes for me. Number 4 is The Stranger Upstairs by Lisa M. Matlin. This was another one where I actually really enjoyed the twist at the ending. I kind of just enjoyed watching the main character spin out, if I'm honest, and figuring out the reason why. Yeah, it was interesting from start to finish, in my opinion. Number 45 was Vampires El Norte by Isabel Cañas. Vampires El Norte is a supernatural romance. I think it's heavier on the romance, actually, but it's beautifully written. So even if you're a person who doesn't generally read romance, like me, it's not a genre that I delve into a lot. I prefer books that just happen to have romance in them. But I would classify this as a romance. It just does more with it. Number 46 is another Mary Kubica book called Local Woman Missing. I had to say that like 5 times before I could actually get a good take. This one's a bit of a whodunit, but with a twist, and I enjoyed what they did with it, probably in the 4-star range. Number 47 is another one of my 5 stars. It's Camp Damascus by Chuck Tingle. So far, I absolutely adore Chuck Tingle's horror, and I'm really interested to see what else he'll do with it. Number 48 is Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldree. It is a cozy fantasy and is a lot of fun. It's also quite queer, and I recommend it if you are into the whole cozy fantasy vibe. Number 49 is The Brothers Hawthorne by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. It's essentially a spin-off of the Inheritance Games series, and it's just as good, honestly, as the original trilogy. It just covers different points of view than the original. Number 50 is Just Like Home by Sarah Gailey. I really liked what Sarah Gailey did with this book, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like this one got swept under the rug a little bit, and people mainly liked it for the cover, but I actually really liked the story. I thought it was great. Very dark, but I liked it. Number 51 was Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Boulet. This was one that I had been meaning to read for a long time, and it didn't really disappoint. It ended up around the 4-star range as well. It's another sort of whodunit, but with a lot of twists and turns and extra elements added in. 52 is Missing White Woman by Kelly Garrett. This is another interesting read, sort of a whodunit mystery type thing. The story is interesting enough, but there was also a lot of commentary on race, and I think it's worth reading if nothing else for that. Number 53 is Hide by Kirsten White. I had my hopes up for this one. They were pretty high because I was seeing this book everywhere. It was getting such high praise, and it was interesting, don't get me wrong, and I don't think it was terrible. I just had my hopes really high, and it wasn't quite what I hoped for. Very different from what I expected. I enjoyed it. I liked that there was a bit of a turn, but it wasn't like in my top books of the year. And then there's 54, which is The Midnight Feast by Lucy Foley. I cannot read a Lucy Foley book that I actually like. This was the 3rd time I think that I've attempted to read anything by her. I haven't liked any of them. I don't know. I think that she tries to incorporate way too many points of view, and things just sort of drag on way longer than they need to. It's tedious. I don't enjoy it. That being said, I think that people who have enjoyed her other books will probably like this one too. Hell, they might even like it better than the other ones. Number 55 was The Heiress by Rachel Hawkins. I thought this was a bit of a deviation from her usual fare, but not in a bad way. I probably enjoyed it more than her other books. Number 56 is The End of Her by Shara Lapina, and this is the first book of hers which I can say I actually really liked. I really enjoyed this book. I liked how it ended. I think that she handled it well. There was one of the characters where I didn't really enjoy them. I didn't like the way that they were depicted, but for the most part, I think it's interesting and it's worth reading. Number 57 is The Last Murder at the End of the World by Stuart Turton. I'm going to be honest, I went into this very hesitant. I don't usually give authors a second chance whenever they piss me off, at least as royally as Stuart Turton did. I'm kind of glad that I gave him another chance though, because I really loved this book. I hate to say it, but I actually really did love it, and I think that it's going to be a modern classic. 58 was another one of my favorites. It's The Angel of Indian Lake by Stephen Graham Jones. I love some Stephen Graham Jones. If you haven't read any of his stuff, please go do so right now, especially if you like horror. Number 59 is The Grandest Game by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is another spin-off of the Inheritance Game series. I actually really enjoyed this one as well, but I hated how it ended. Why'd you do this to us, Jennifer Lynn Barnes? How are you gonna leave on a cliffhanger? Number 60 is A Study in Drowning by Ava Reid. I had never read anything by Ava Reid before, I don't think. This was a fantasy of sorts, but it falls into the fae realm, essentially, and that's so big right now, but it's just not generally my thing. There are a couple of them that I like, but for the most part, they're just not my thing. But if you like that sort of subgenre, then absolutely, look into it. It wasn't bad, it just wasn't for me. Number 61 is another autobiography, but it may as well have been a horror. It's The Woman in Me by Britney Spears. This one is kind of rough, I'm not gonna lie. It's about her life under the conservatorship and her life before and after, the way that it impacted her. While I enjoyed reading it, it is kind of hard to read in some places. Number 62 is A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher. I don't enjoy T. Kingfisher's fantasy as much as I enjoy her horror, but I still do really love it, and this one holds up as well. Also, some really unsettling elements that might as well be horror. Ezra has decided that she's going to join us for a while. Number 63 is The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. I was pleasantly surprised by this one. It's kind of a dark romantasy of sorts. The driving force is not the romance, so I'm not sure if that's the genre I would put it in. But I did really enjoy it. So far I think everything that I've read by Leigh Bardugo I've enjoyed though, so. Number 64 is part of a series. It's The Silent Corner by Dean Koontz. Dean Koontz is another one of those authors where I haven't read anything by him that I didn't enjoy. In fact, he's written a couple of my favorite books. If you haven't read the Odd Thomas series, then I recommend that you do. Hi, Ezra. Why are you so cute, huh? You look so grumpy. Number 65 is Rise and Divine by Elena Harper. It's another book in the Witches of Thistle Grove series. The points that I made from In Charm's Way apply here. Like, all of these books are consistently really good. Bye! Oh, no? Are you coming back? Number 66 is What Have You Done by Shara Lapina. This is another strong book by her. This is why I said I wasn't really sure, because she kind of falls on both ends. Either her books are kind of just fine, or I really like them. This one wasn't my favorite, but it was really good. Number 67 is The Night We Lost Him by Laura Dave. Hi, welcome back. We're changing angles because she wants to be in this hand. But yeah, The Night We Lost Him by Laura Dave. This is from the same author who did The Last Time We Saw Him. I was kind of expecting more, but it wasn't a bad book. It's another instance of, is this murder? Is this suicide? Let's see. We're gonna figure it out. Number 68 was another one of my favorites. It's Celestial Monsters by Aidan Thomas. Haven't read anything by Aidan Thomas that I didn't love quite yet. This one was at least 4.5, if not 5 stars. I actually liked it better than the first book in this trilogy series. I guess we'll see. The first one was the Sunbearer Trials, and I actually enjoyed this one much more, which is saying something because I really like the Sunbearer Trials too. Hi. Number 69 is actually kind of true crime. It's Among the Boys by Max Marshall. You get a glimpse into frat life, essentially, and a big bust that was done on one of the most notorious fraternities. Number 70 was Looking Glass Sound by Catriona Ward. I actually hadn't heard a lot about this one. I just stumbled across it in the Libby library. It was interesting. It goes places that I didn't really think it would go. I definitely didn't predict much of anything. There was a little bit at the beginning that I did predict, but then the rest of it, there's no way that I could have guessed any of it. Number 70 is Home is Where the Bodies Are by Geneva Rose. This is another one where it had a really good premise. It's another horror story that circulates around 3 siblings. The ending for me was extremely predictable, and I don't know. In some cases, I feel like I predict things early because of the fact that I've read so many horror stories and thrillers. But in this case, I do feel like the killer was extremely obvious from the beginning. Not bad, just predictable. Number 72 is She's Not Sorry by Mary Kubica. I would say this is one of the stronger Mary Kubica books that I've read this year. Some of it was contrived and unrealistic, but overall it was just fun to read. Number 73 is You Shouldn't Have Come Here, also by Geneva Rose. I actually liked this book much better than the other one, though. It wasn't quite as predictable as the other one. I liked what she did with it. I'm kind of looking forward to what she does in the future just based on this book alone. We are down to the last 2 books that I read in 2024. Number 74 is They're Watching by Chelsea Icarus. This one I thought had a fun turn near the 2/3 mark, and it was semi-predictable, but not in a way that ruined the story in any way. I thought it was really interesting to read. Not my favorite of the year, definitely not my least favorite, in the good range. Number 75, I actually finished a couple of days ago. It's The Haunting of Maddie Clare by Simone St. James. Again, one of my favorite authors. This one was also no exception. I enjoyed seeing what she did with a sort of different subject matter and a different time period. It falls around World War II-ish, and yeah, very supernatural. I would look up triggers before you read it, but if you like Simone St. James, it's another example of her work. It sounds dismissive. It's one of her stronger works, that I would say anyway. That's it for the 75 books that I read in 2024. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it way more than you know. I know that's something that I say every time, but I say it because I mean it. I hope that you guys are staying safe and warm and that you all have the happiest of holidays that you can. Feel free to like and share and subscribe if you want to, but what is most important, more important than anything else that I have said today, you can tune out for all the rest of my videos. I don't even care. Put them on as background noise. But please internalize the message that what is most important is to remember to love yourself. Especially these days. Okay, bye.